I know what it's like to be sitting on greatness and to do nothing with it, because I sat on it for too long. I sat around, I did nothing with my life. I played video games for 10 years straight. And there was something inside me that I could have started on 10 years ago.
Hello and welcome back to the Culture and Legacy podcast, where we are having candid conversations with entrepreneurs talking about life behind the scenes. And in this episode, we have my friends Bree and Stephen, who are elopement photographers who moved their business from Florida to Southern California. And despite that, they were able to grow an online community of over 16,000 fellow business owners and entrepreneurs who are looking for community and to grow their brand. And I felt like this would be a great time to have them on and talk about this topic of moving markets. Not only moving markets like they did, but moving markets and still finding a way to find community, to establish community, to create a community. And so we were super excited to have this conversation that I may or may not have forgotten to do a proper introduction. And so we are going to jump straight into our conversation with Bree and Stephen on moving markets, but still finding and creating community. You know, just thinking of the type of entrepreneur who's moving, because a lot of people in a lot of Facebook groups are like, hey, what should I know? And yours too, like, hey, I'm moving markets. What do I need to know as I move? How do I get started again? And that's all great and all, but it's like, how is your personal life affected? You know, what is that doing to your relationships back in your old state or, you know, in your new state? Because obviously you guys are huge advocates for community. And so without community, it's hard to thrive. And so.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like our relationship definitely was taking a toll way before we decided to move, because I feel like we were in this like weird limbo of like not knowing what we wanted to do with our lives. And then when we finally made the decision to move here, I feel like everything just fell in place and it got aligned.
Yeah, it's more of the opposite. It's like not moving, not leaving was taking a toll on our relationship. So it was kind of like to set us free. That was like, it felt like the only option. And we found that like community didn't feel like community locally. It actually we felt more community on our phones and on the internet, in these Facebook groups and communities, doing all these creative adventures, going all throughout the country and just doing what they love, instead of just being stuck in a place that they didn't want to be, not knowing what they wanted to do. And so part of the reason why we wanted to move was to go find community of our own. It wasn't even to create our own community. It was really just going and chasing after communities that were really attractive to us.
Yeah, I don't know if we told you this one time, but when we were living in Florida, we used to second shoot with this one photographer, and she was trying to make us sign a non-compete, yeah, where we couldn't start a business within 50 miles of her business. And I'm like, Florida is not even that big. Like, it's literally the size of Florida. That
40?
like a 50-mile radius is the size of Florida. So we're like, yeah, maybe not.
Yeah, so...
Dang. So it was more of like we had to move because we felt stuck.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people maybe feel that way with the community, like the photography community where they live. At least in our experience, I feel like Florida was just not a very friendly photography community. When we were in Florida, we could only charge, I mean, our first wedding that we ever did, we only charged $500 for it. And I felt like, I felt as if people in Florida didn't charge more than like $2,500 for a wedding, at least where we were. So I was like, there's no room to grow. There's no room to like expand. And Florida is just very vast, and like not vast, but it's very boring. Like there's only beach and swamp there. So there wasn't much to work with as far as photos.
That's part of the reason why it was like taking a toll on us, is like we're very free-spirited people in business and in our relationship, and just outside of each other in our personal lives. We're like very adventurous, free-spirited kind of people. And where we were living felt like kind of living in a box, because there was no mountains, there was nothing adventurous to do. It's just like a flat land. And so part of the reason why we came out here chasing community was because it was just in our blood to do more.
So why California of all like the, I guess, the quote unquote adventurous places? I mean, you literally moved from one side of the country to the other.
Well, we came to visit one of our friends who had just moved out to San Diego, and we had some time during spring break. It was actually like March of 2017, I think, and we had some free time, and we figured, why not? Like, we'll just go out there and just try it out. And we've done a lot of traveling as is, because we hated Florida, so we went to every state on the East Coast, and we're like, we've never been to California, or at least I haven't. So we came out here. I fell in love. I was like, we have the beach, we have the mountains, we have a desert, we have like a forest out here. I mean, there is so much to work with. So literally we came out here in March, and then we made the decision to move in May. So only like 2 months after we decided to pack up everything and just move out here.
Yeah, it was like a two-part decision, because Bree had like the emotional side of like, oh, I love it, it's beautiful, I can imagine how great it would be. And then I had like the analytical side, like I was doing all the numbers and like how many photographers live in San Diego, how many weddings happened in California last year. So I'm on like all the reports. I'm like making these like brand new email addresses so I can get the free report for 7 days. And so I resorted to Facebook ads to do my research, because when you're doing your audience targeting, you build an audience of recently engaged females age 18 to 40 who live in Los Angeles, live in San Diego. And I was like, okay, if it's like, I made a number in my mind. If it's over this number, I don't care how many photographers are there. I will follow Bree, and we're just going to chase our dream to live in California. And I saw there's 180,000 females that are engaged. So there's like 360 men and women combined. Yeah. 360,000 people.
This is like the marketing nerd coming out. Like, I went on Facebook and I did my research. I know, it's so funny because I'm totally the spontaneous one. I'm just like, yeah, let's do it. Woo.
Let's just go with it.
Not actually thinking about numbers, and Steven's like, actually?
Yeah, I'm like, well, California is expensive, so how are we going to pay for rent? And we have this much in savings that'll last us 2 months.
Yeah.
So in 60 days, can we book ourselves up and be not like stressed out and having to drive back home? So.
Yeah, but we realized that we did not want to live in Florida anymore, so we had no choice but to make it work. We also knew, like, if it didn't work, we could go back to Florida, because in Florida we were only paying like $400 for rent, so it wasn't even expensive. We're like, all right, if we have to go back to Florida, then that's fine. But knowing that we didn't want to go back was definitely the fire underneath us to keep us going. And just like, as soon as we got here, like the day we got here, we just started like hustling and just doing as much as we could to get our name out there.
So we kind of talked about like, you know, competing with other people before, or, you know, the photographers or whatever the industry. So was that, and Stephen, you had kind of mentioned, I don't care how many are out there, like we're going to make it happen. And so when moving and you were hustling, was that ever a part of your mind of like, okay, yes, we need to grow our business, but we also do want to connect with other people, other like-minded people, other photographers?
So I like to use this analogy because it just, everybody can visualize it. When you're on a plane and they're doing the oxygen mask, and they always tell you to put your oxygen mask on before you can try and help somebody else with their oxygen mask. And it kind of felt that way when we got here. As much as I wanted to help everybody else get their mask on, hang out with the community, I felt like I needed to breathe too. So it was a lot of, how much work can we book? Let's do every single thing we can. Like, I need to take care of myself, right? Take care of our business. And then once it got to the point where, okay, like we have bookings coming in, like we have rent taken care of, like we're not gonna be kicked out of our apartment. Then it's like, now we have more free time to be like, oh, like who are some other photographers? Maybe we should meet up and collaborate on styled shoots. So we started connecting with other photographers, working together on styled shoots, throwing events together, selling tickets for styled shoots, just going on hikes together, and sending leads to each other as well. So that was super, super exciting, but it's not something that happened right when we first got here, because like I said, we had to put our mask on before helping somebody with theirs.
I think we kind of had this turning point too, where we were, 6 months or a year, maybe a year into living into California, and we realized that it was kind of lonely being an entrepreneur. And even though we reached our goal of getting established and networking with vendors and meeting other photographers, it just wasn't like, we felt like we needed to give back more. And one of the main things that we saw all the time, especially in Florida, was just people not feeling like they were part of a community. So Stephen had the idea of starting a Facebook group for photographers, all about like, what was the first name of the group?
So it used to be a Facebook group for people that bought our presets. And I noticed that people would join the group and nobody would share their photos. I guess people would they would buy the presets and they would edit their photos, and then they would just be like, okay, cool, like now I'm gonna go back to editing and stuff. Like they didn't have time. I guess maybe they're just editing too much and they didn't have time to hang out and chat in a Facebook group. So we said, okay, well, why don't we just make this open, not just to people who have bought our presets. Let's make this open to anybody who's a business owner and an entrepreneur. And we changed the name to Instagram marketing.
We only had 200 people in there too for the longest time. And I was telling Stephen, I was like, I think this is a waste of time. I don't think it's going to be anything, because I was always the skeptical one whenever he has ideas like that. And then just out of nowhere, I feel like within a few months, it grew to 1,000 people. And then I was like, oh, okay, now I see where Stephen's trying to take this. And then from 1,000 people, it went to 5,000 people, and it just kept taking off. And so we kind of fostered this community of other photographers and business owners, helping them with Instagram, because Instagram was the main thing that we focused on when we first moved out here. And Steven's just a marketing genius, so he was just helping so many people, and I was always the skeptical one. I'm like, is it even worth our time? I feel like we should be out photographing things. But now looking where the group is now, I'm so thankful that Steven kept pushing through.
That tenacity, just keep going.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's very cool. So for people who, I guess, I'm in your Facebook group, and I'm in a lot of Facebook groups. And there was one group that I was in yesterday, and someone kind of just went on a rant of I haven't seen pictures in a long time, and we're supposed to be a photography community. Why is everybody only talking about gear and technology, and we're not sharing photos? So, as you started off as a photography community, then you kind of went into marketing, and now I feel like, it's just I feel like people are just friends. I've met people through your group. So what is it that I guess kind of led through that to get to the place now? Because obviously where it is now with over 16,000 people, it may have been hard to envision that when you had 200 talking about presets, and now you're a complete 180 different group.
That's a good question.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
So I think it's all about pivoting, right? I think as business owners, we think that, I invested time, money, and energy into this one thing, and if I don't keep going, then all that time is going to be for nothing. But I think it's really important to realize when to walk away from something and to take what you've learned and to say, oh, cool, we've built 200 people that are interested in presets. It's kind of like a Venn diagram. Well, people who are interested in presets, they're also trying to get more followers on Instagram. They're also trying to push their photos out, figure out what the right hashtags are. And then from that Venn diagram, we realized, okay, well, people who are trying to grow their Instagram, they're also real people just like us who are just tired of all the BS that's out there. And so we just changed the name to No BS with our podcast name and the Facebook group to just talk about everything, not just Instagram, not just business, but the real stuff. Because there's so many Facebook groups that we saw. We're like, oh, hey, join my Facebook group. Okay, buy my course. And at one point we thought that was a good avenue for our business because that's the model. Make a Facebook group, sell them something. And we realized real quick that everybody's doing that. And so the only way to stick out is to give people a safe place where there's no BS being sold. It's just a group of people. There's some tools available for $20-$40 if you need them, but there's no $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 course that you could find for free online.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, everyone's just human, besides, putting aside what your business is or what you do, it's everyone just wants to feel connected. And going back to how we felt in Florida with how competitive people were and how we just felt like no one wanted to help us out. When we first started the group, it was strictly just business, and we were very robotic, and we were too scared to make it, too friendly in a sense. And I mean, you could probably go back and find posts from when we first started the group. It was very, very like business-like and very robotic. And then over time we realized like people just want to have a safe place where they can meet other people. And we think of other mentors that have helped us along the way, like our friend Jessie Stellick in Florida was one of the ones who was so helpful for us. She was really the only one that I feel like of pushed us to start a community.
Yeah, she was the first photographer to let us go assist her, like second shoot. And she would also let us use those photos on our portfolio.
Yeah.
No non-compete.
Yeah. I know, right? And then when we moved out here, our friend Dekai, who a lot of people know, he kind of took us under his wing for a little bit, and he showed us that there was like more to just photography. It was like all about the community and stuff like that. So after having the group, we realized that people they still want help, but they also want to just have it be more casual and they want to have fun. And when we started showing up and just being ourselves and not feeling like we had to be robots all the time, people related to that more. And I think that's what helped the group grow as much, because people they don't want like someone who's really stuffy and they just act like they know everything about everything all the time, because we're just normal people. We started a business and we're doing the best that we can, and we're sharing the tips and tricks that we know like along the way, and that's just what it is.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think also, with the way, obviously we have different generations, and I was seeing something yesterday on Instagram talking about Gen Z, and, they're here and they're getting married, and, and they look for genuineness, and everybody. And so I think that's something that I'm really seeing now that some people are good at, some people are starting to get on top of. It's like, oh, people actually want to get to know me before they get to know my business.
Exactly. Yeah. Because back in the day, I feel like people just hired a photographer because they like their photos. And I feel like wedding photography was nowhere near where it is now. Not everyone was a wedding photographer. I feel like if you were a wedding photographer in the early 2000s or before then, people thought that job was just, I don't know, they just didn't see it as a real job. So It's interesting to see over time how photography has kind of, or at least wedding photography specifically, has changed. And yeah, people care more about who you are instead of just your work.
Yeah, and that's why we share a lot about, we used to think, okay, we're elopement photographers, wedding photographers, our feed can only be, 90% elopement photos and then maybe 10% of us. But what we've learned after hanging out with the communities and talking with couples that have booked us, they want to see like 80% of us, and they know that we take pretty photos. That if they want to see more of them, they can go on our website or they can inquire for more of our portfolio. But they want to know, like, is Bree and Stephen, are they going to be fun to hang out with for the day? And they're not going to know by looking at a pretty photo of another couple. They're going to know by looking at us watering our plants or hearing me play piano or play fetch with our dog, or the most random things that have nothing to do with our business are actually what sell the business the most.
So what would you say is the legacy you guys want to leave?
Ooh.
Oh man, that's a deep one. I'd say you go first.
I want to give people hope. I want to give people a vision that they didn't know they had inside them, because I know what it's like to be sitting on greatness and to do nothing with it, because I sat on it for too long. I sat around, I did nothing with my life. I played video games for 10 years straight. And there was something inside me that I could have started on 10 years ago. And so I want to help other people discover their greatness and discover the potential that they're sitting on, so that they can share it with the world, because the world would be missing out if you just sat on that greatness. The world missed out on us community building because I played video games for 10 years.
Yeah, I think Stephen really hit the nail on the head with that. We just did a coaching call, and she was telling us that she just felt like we did give not only her, but other people hope on how to just run a successful business and overcoming challenges and, showing the real side of life and how it's not always easy. And yeah, I feel like the legacy we want to leave is just being able to show people that they have something that they can share with the world, and telling them that they can harness that and use that to their advantage. I think a lot of people nowadays with social media are very, they just compare their lives to everyone else, and then they get caught up in the in the mindset of, oh, well, this person is already successful and they're already doing that and there's no room for me and I can't do that. I'm not as good as them. But that's not true. I feel like everyone has their own uniqueness to bring to the table, you know? So I think that's what our legacy is, just helping people realize that they can be successful and they can live the life that they want to live.
Yeah, that's very cool. I think I really do see that in you guys. I think I sent you guys, or I tried to send you guys a Christmas gift, and you got it like 2 months late, just because me, I was just bad. And then I had a call with Stephen, like he thanked me, and then he like encouraged me, and I was like, oh, like I was the one that was, trying to encourage you guys, but then I felt, I felt the love from that, and so that's super cool. I think one of the
we
things.
have your card up we have your
Oh no!
handwritten card on our shelf, and
Yeah,
then the calligraphy thing is over on our bookshelf.
Oh, yep. So cool. We're part of your house.
You are.
Dude, yeah, that's so kind of you, man.
Yeah.
So, one question I do want to ask. So for the person who feels like, or for the person who's moving, let's think of the one person who's moving across the country or just moving markets, and they're so stressed out about business and family and just all these things. What is one or few things that you would really tell them to encourage them?
I think to keep their eye on the end goal. A lot of people will get sidetracked with, inconveniences and hardships along the way. But at the end of the day, like, you have to look at your overall goal and decide if you want to persevere and if you want to overcome those things, because we don't have kids, and we didn't have kids when we moved, and it was easy for us to get up and move to a new place, and we didn't really have too much to lose in the sense of, if it didn't work out, we could always move back and this kind of thing. But with other people, you have to really keep your eye on the prize and see where you want to be in a year, 2 years, even 6 months, and not let small things, because they are small things in the overall picture. You can't let those like hold you back and not go after what you want.
Yeah.
I think, what's that saying where it's like regret is worse than not what?
Yeah.
I don't know what the saying is.
He's like, yes, that's it.
The feeling of regret is way worse than failure or something like that. So
yeah, that's true.
I say people just need to try, and they have to fail, and they have to just get back up again. I mean, we failed so many times. We've tried so many different things in our business, and some things we were just so embarrassed about, and we were like, oh, why did we even try that? Like, why did we think that would be a good idea? And there were times where we felt like we wanted to give up because we just felt like it wasn't worth it. But looking back on those moments and where we are now, if we would have given up, I mean, what the heck would we have been doing?
Yeah, I mean, I remember we had a hard time when we first moved here, and I had to drive for Uber. And I thought that I was going to be creative by like marketing our photos, like while driving for Uber. So I printed out little magazines with our pricing and put them in the back seat where the passengers were. And I remember feeling so prideful, and then picking up some passengers, and then they looked through my photos. They're like, what the heck you think you're charging for this? Like, dude, like literally for photos, thousands of dollars, what the heck? Like talking crap about my art, our work while I'm driving them. And I remember like having to sit through the rest of that ride in silence with my heart pounding, like, wow, like that feeling of rejection and humility and just dropping them off and like crying and just feeling like hopeless. Like, man, why are we even doing this? I'm driving for Uber, like our business, like they don't even like our business. Like nothing's going to work out. Like I remember feeling like I wanted to give up, but if we would have given up, if I would have just put our camera up on OfferUp that night and just driven home back to Florida, we wouldn't be where we are today.
Yeah. And we also had this other instance where we used to second shoot with someone out here. And after the wedding day, she pulled us aside and she was like, Stephen, you have way too much energy. No one's going to like you. You're just too energetic, and you just don't know how to communicate with people. Like, people are just trying to have calm energy. And then she was telling me that I'm too quiet and that I'm not interacting enough. And she was telling us, she pretty much was like, you guys aren't going to be successful, so you should just stop now. And I was like, okay. So that was definitely one of those things where we've had moments where we've definitely been second guessing our business.
Yeah.
We just had to look at the end goal and see see the clear image of what we wanted to do and just keep pushing through.
Yeah, I think it can be so easy to look at some of the greatest people and think that they didn't have sleepless nights. You can look at people like Steve Jobs, you can look at people like Ben Hartley, another wedding photographer, and it can be so easy to think, oh wow, like they must have it so easy, but they probably cried and screamed and punched their steering wheel every now and then when they're stressed out, because everybody goes through a really hard situation and feels like they're gonna die. I mean, the feeling you get when your business is literally your baby, so the feeling you get when your baby isn't doing well makes you feel like nothing else is going to be okay. And so it's just, you have to surround yourself with other people who are going to help you get through it. If Bree and I weren't on the same team, I wouldn't have been able to make it through alone. I don't know if you would have been able to do it because
no.
Yeah, so I think that's the number one takeaway is like, if you're stressing out trying to move this whole thing, surround yourself with other people because you can't do it alone.
Yeah, that's big. And I think something that you guys really hit on is not giving up. And I think there's a difference in just like quitting, giving up versus like, okay, this, like, I need to cut this off. You know, like this is actually going to hurt me more. And I remember a few years ago, I went to this was like before I was really trying to be creative. I went to like a real estate expo. I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be a realtor. And there was one of the speakers was one of the guys from the show Shark Tank. And he was talking about, you know, his successful businesses, his ventures. And he had also like quickly made a reference that he, like his family got hurt and he ended up getting divorced. And I looked to my buddy and I was like, you know, it's great and all that he's successful, but it's not great that the cost was his family. And so I think even when we talk about, you know, quitting and giving up, I don't want to just quit because things are getting tough, because I think failure is a part of success. But also there is a point where either I need to pause, I need to stop, or I need to cut that away because it is going to hurt my business or it's going to hurt me or somebody that I love.
Exactly. Yeah. It's definitely about finding that fine line between, you know, persevering because you can see it being a huge win in your business and your life. And then also taking a step back and asking yourself, am I giving myself or my family what they need in that time? You know, like you said, if you're sacrificing your family or even your own self-care for your business, then I would definitely reevaluate what you're doing. And we've had moments like that where we've been so focused on the business that we didn't have time to like nurture the relationship or even just like take care of ourselves. But, you know, you just have to kind of be self-aware and look at everything as a whole and take a step back and like remove yourself from the situation.
Yeah. Especially now, like we talked about before, like we are the business, you know, we are the brand and our personality. And if that's hurting, then the business is going to hurt. And
yeah. And it's like Stephen said, like with the oxygen mask on an airplane, it's like, you got to help yourself before you help others. And it's the same with your business. If you're feeling like crap about yourself or you're just not at your best or you're lacking somewhere else in your life, then it's probably going to trickle over into your business and your productivity and your overall well-being.
Yeah, that's good. So where can people find you if people want to like really see your work or, you know, join your community or just hit you up? What can people do?
Yeah, we're just Bree and Stephen on Instagram, reesteblishing.com. That's where you can find access to all the communities and see more of our work, get to know more of our piano and hiking and see videos of our dog.
And see future rapping.
Yes, and then our Facebook group is just called No BS with Bree and Stephen. We always love having new people in there. It's always a fun time. So.
And you have your podcast.
Yes, and our podcast. I know. Well, I didn't want to mention our podcast because you're the star of the show.
It's okay.
But yeah,
I'm putting my oxygen mask on, so now you.
Yes. This plane ain't going down today.
We're all thriving today. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bree and Stephen, for joining me on the Culture and Legacy podcast. I hope that if you are listening or watching, that you took something out of this, whether you are moving your business to a different market or you have already, or maybe you're just looking for a way to find community, that you took something from this conversation that I had with Bree and Stephen.